What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Alex Cuesta. Find me on Twitter at @_Cuesta30. Find the Sports Opinions Twitter app, SportsOpinion30. And as usual, click subscribe if you haven't already on YouTube if you're new to listening to Sports Opinions, or you're a returning person just too lazy to click subscribe. Just get on that, please. We like more listeners, like more subscribers, so we can continue to bring all the great stuff we always bring. Today's a special one. It seems like I normally only do specials with this dude because he's really damn good at what he does. My man that was with me today, like a little brother to me, known him since he was basically a fetus, Mr. Joseph Hackett Jr., aspiring rapper. Give him a big ups if you see him on Twitter. What's up, Joe?
Nothing much. Excited to be here.
Absolutely.
Talking sports.
Joe boy, where can they find you on Twitter?
Twitter is at Joe Hack _.
Joe Hack _
JOEHACK _.
Definitely make sure you look out for that, because not only is he going to talk about sports here, which he knows a good amount about, but he's also an aspiring rapper, aspiring poet. Go on there, scroll down a little, you'll find this poem that he put out, Straight Fuego. And me being one of his good friends and basically a big brother, I get all the inside scoop. I get all the good stuff. So, get close with him and you can get some good. And then from there, once he becomes famous, you could say you knew him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to have fun with it right now, but you never know.
Bringing the frat rap to the forefront. That's what we're doing, baby.
Yeah. Not just rap, but yeah, I'm trying to just be an all-around artist.
Absolutely.
Singing, rapping, everything I could do.
So, but, talking about rap, talking about fun, we're going to talk about some more stuff. Big thing we're going to do today, the main focus of this is the NFL draft. We're going to specifically...
I love it, baby. I love it. I love the NFL draft. I'm so excited for the Jets. I'm so excited for all the teams.
Specifically going to talk about the first round because the second round is going on right now as we speak. If anything big happens, we'll definitely bring it to you guys, though. We'll talk about it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk about the draft, and we're even going to throw in a little UFC later because that's a new thing. We've never talked UFC on Sports Opinions before. Joe knows a little bit about UFC. He likes watching it. The man is an addict to the UFC video games, so he probably knows more about the fighters' techniques than they do. But we're going to break it down on both of those. Big brunt of it's going to be NFL draft. We're going to go down the first round. We're going to talk about the picks. We're going to talk about their fits. If we like the guys, if we think the pick is good, if we think it's bad. And we get to talk about our favorite team ad nauseum because they sit at number 3, the Jets. But first, we're going to break Joe's heart. We're going to talk about the number 1 pick. Cleveland Browns were on the clock. The lock was going into, since the end of the college season, since the end of the pro season, the lock was they are going to pick either Sam Darnold or Josh Allen. It was going to be Darnold or Allen,
Saquon.
Or Saquon. Saquon was in there, Saquon Barkley. They needed a quarterback. Saquon Barkley was highly considered the best running back. The other 2 were quarterbacks. But then the night before the first round, Leak City occurred, and it came out that they could possibly be a fan of the little engine that could. Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma. And, it was just rumors. It was just draft smoke. Everyone was convinced. Just draft smoke. Trying to entice the Jets to move up. But draft night came. Roger Goodell walks up to that podium, and with the first pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield, quarterback, Oklahoma. And if you are friends with Joe on Snapchat and you got the snap of Joe's reaction to that, you would see that Joe wanted Baker on the Jets.
I buried my head in my New York Jets baseball tape. And... dry fit, of course, and I was astonished. Right off the bat, I didn't think Sam Darnold would fall to 3. So Sam Darnold, when I was studying quarterbacks for who I wanted for the Jets, he wasn't even in the question. He was going number 1, right? So
and I just want to stop you real quick, Joe. That's the thing. We all, a lot of people are sitting there and they're like, why weren't Jets fans super happy about this? We didn't think he was a possibility. Yeah. No one thought Sam Darnold was real.
Mm-hmm. He's a freaking unicorn. 20 years old. I could drink. I was at the bar drinking. He can't even have a drink after the draft.
But here's the question, Joe. Who's he? What is he, a great-grandson? Grandson? Who's his grandpappy?
Oh, the one. the legendary Dick Hammer.
Dick Hammer. We got Dick Hammer's grandson.
Yeah,
But
the Marlboro man himself.
let's stay on topic first. We will get to Sammy Boy. I'm going to let you break him down. But we're going to start on Baker first. Baker is a Cleveland Brown. The Cleveland Browns are hoping that he is going to be the guy, that he's going to take them places where they haven't been probably since Jim Brown, since they were, the premier team in the NFL. There's knocks on Baker because of his size. His character is possibly an issue, but I think it's more of just a chip on his shoulder. You wanted him for the Jets. What do you love about Baker Mayfield?
Okay, the first thing I look for in a quarterback is I want him to be smart. I want him to be able to read defenses. I want him to have high football IQ. And the draft process and everything he went through, what the NFL owners were saying about him, he is, if not the smartest, one of the smartest QBs in this class.
Now, a knock on him I heard a few times was he struggled a little with the board. But he also came out and said, which, this is part of an issue people see with him. He said he basically apologized to certain teams because he didn't care about their playbook because he didn't think he was a possibility to going to them. So is that something that you liked about him? Because, he is intelligent. The guy does know, he knows football like the back of his hand. But that sort of brashness of, I know I'm going in the top, so I don't care about your playbook. What is that something that could have, he went number one, obviously, but is that something that a lot of teams probably would have avoided?
I wouldn't say. I mean, he's just being realistic. I mean, it's a chip on his shoulder, like you said earlier. If I walked on to 3 schools, and for 2 schools, if I walked on back-to-back years, and then people are saying, oh, I did all this, I'm the Heisman Trophy winner, I don't deserve it, oh, I'm too cocky. If I hear all this, I'm saying, you know what, forget you guys. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to remain. I'm going to keep doing what got me here. So, I think he was just being realistic. But yet again, I could see why it would raise some red flags because that's just personality, something you don't want in a guy.
One thing I heard about Baker, I listen to a lot of talk radio. I can't remember if it was ESPN or The Fan. I was listening to one of them on the way home one day, and I heard a story about Baker where throughout his whole high school, college, all of this, he's been told the word not by coaches. He's not big enough. He's not fast enough. He's not smart enough, not strong enough, not good enough. And literally the whole level. And he's kind of taken that, and he said that he plays with a certain anger where, he's now taken not. He said it's his least favorite word, but he's taken it and made it positive. He's not going to let anyone stop him. He's not going to be told that he's not good enough. He's not going to settle. So a lot of people don't like the pick. They see a lot of similarities to Manziel, and if you do, you're an idiot. He's nothing like Johnny Manziel. I think he has a better arm. He has a much better arm than Johnny Manziel did. He doesn't need to be on the move in order to be accurate. Yes, he's smaller, so he needs to find those windows, similar to Russell Wilson, to Drew Brees, to a once Doug Flutie, but he can do this. I think he could do good things with Cleveland, and they made a lot of moves in the offseason that people forget, so I don't mind this pick at 1.
Browns are going to be a good team, but another thing, going back to what you said, Johnny Manziel, he had to be on the run to be accurate. Baker Mayfield, most accurate QB in the draft.
Probably, and maybe next to Mason Rudolph, but Rudolph is considered to have not as many intangibles. So I think we're both in agreement that I like the Baker Mayfield pick to Cleveland. I would have preferred them to take Josh Allen. Personally, I think Josh Allen's a better fit in Cleveland. He played in weather. He's played in cold. He's been successful in the same elements he would have faced in Cleveland. But we'll talk about Josh Allen later because another team who plays in elements thought that would be right too. But we're going to move on now. Yeah, we hate them. But still, they made a good pick.
Yeah.
We're now going to move on to our stadium sharers. I guess we share their stadium still. It's not Giants Stadium. It's MetLife. Giants fans, get it right. But number 2 in the NFL draft, considered the most talented player in the draft. I kind of go against that because I like someone else better who doesn't even play a position of quarterback or running back. But Saquon Barkley, Penn State running back, just an all-world talent coming out. I've said plenty of times that I think he's great. I don't like the pick for the Giants.
Really?
I don't. I think that they were better served going with my favorite guy, an offensive lineman, in this spot. Or
is it who I think it is?
It is. I'm not even going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it when we get there because I think that this team's having the best draft. But
yeah, is he going to fall? Did he fall to 6 in the first round?
He fell to 6 in the first round. Hell yeah. But we're going to stick on Saquon. I think he's a great talent. And they did some things on the line. They got Nate Solder. They revamped it a little. Eli's still good. Odell's good. Saquon Barkley's going to demand the ball. He's not a platoon back. He's not one of those guys you could plug in. He's going to be a 25 to 30 touches a game type of player, similar to Zeke. Yep. But the issue is where the Cowboys had Zeke and aging receivers and a great line, Saquon has a mediocre line with some nice pieces, an aging quarterback, and a bona fide diva superstar receiver who's going to demand the ball. So as Saquon wants the ball, needs the ball because he's going to be more of a focal point because he can be a receiver. He can be a running back. I see him. We know Matt Forte. We know LaDainian Tomlinson. I think if you marry those two, you find Saquon Barkley in terms of his skill set, which is unbelievable. And I also think it's a Band-Aid for the Giants. They want to win now with Eli, get him another championship, and that's great. Where are you going to be 10 years from now? If Davis Webb isn't the guy, I don't think you're going to be sitting at 2, 3, 1 again. Who the hell is the heir apparent? That's my only concern for the Giants.
Yeah. QB is definitely going to be an issue in the next 2 years for the Giants. But they're in win now mode, and if you look at a lot of people forget about Ingram, their tight end. Ingram, he's huge. He's a good talent. Okay, you have Odell, Sterling Shepard, I think still. Eli. I mean, you look at the skill positions; they're loaded, but all that goes to nothing if you don't have a line to protect all of them.
Well, I'm gonna look up the New York Giants offensive line. You can continue with your point, but
no, that was my point. I'm just saying, their offensive line last year was horrendous, and even though the team did make Geno Smith look good, that one game he played, love Geno Smith.
He's terrible.
That line
Stop.
overall was just awful. You can't let your quarterback get hit. You can't. I think they had Orleans Darkwa was the starter. He was sharing snaps, and he was getting eaten up in the backfield. It was just horrendous offensively to watch. The team was sound. They were subpar compared to what they should have been defensively. But for the most part, that offense, the line, it was horrendous.
I look at the line. I'm looking at it right now, Joe. Sorry to interrupt you. You got Nate Solder, who's an older player, but he's a bona fide star. The guy can, he's a very good player. He's still going to be able to hold down on the blind side.
Yeah.
They kept John Jerry, who he was injured. John Jerry's good. I wouldn't say he's a great right guard. Eric Flowers is horrendous. He's absolutely terrible. He's terrible.
Yeah.
There's nothing good to say about him. And then they picked up Brett Jones. Brett Jones, to me, isn't anyone fantastic. He's a good player. He's not great. And
he's one of those transition linemen, when your team is like, oh, we need a lineman, but we need to address this in the draft. Oh, we'll pick him up, and if a better lineman comes, we'll take that guy.
And then they have Patrick Omame as their offensive guard, who has a lineage of teams that he's been thrown around to. So their line is still questioned. It's better, but it's not great. So my concern is their line. And I always thought that they had some guys. I thought Wayne Gallman could be good with a pretty good line. I like Wayne Gallman as a running back, the kid out of Clemson. He had a good rookie year, and he's a good player. And then Darkwa could be your straight line guy. So
I think Darkwa. I don't think Darkwa's on the team.
I think he is gone.
Yeah, I think he's either a free agent or he got picked up by someone. So he's gone, which is why that was my number one indication that they're going Saquon if he's available.
I know, but it's just everyone's making the comparisons between what Saquon and Elliott could do, and it's not there. Elliott has 3 yards every time he touches the ball because of how good that line is. Saquon's going to have to come back from -1 almost every time, unless they're running behind Nate Solder every time. Which
for another 2-3 years.
Yeah, no, it's for me, it's not a great situation. They picked a great player. I think Dave Gettleman was pressured into this by the fans because. Whether people believe it or not, I know he's a first-year GM, but his job's on the line already. The fan base demands greatness, and his job's on the line. And the fan base has been clamoring for Saquon. I don't think Dave Gettleman made this pick as much as he was forced to by everyone around him.
I don't think it was just the fan base that forced them either.
No,
I think it was the entire franchise. It was the owner, everything, because you look, he's already in the NFL record books for the most sold jersey ever in a day on draft.
So the Giants draft Saquon. I'm not a fan of it. I think I talked Joe out of it. I thought Joe liked it initially. But we're going to move on to our team, the New York Jets. The team that has lived in terrible, terrible suffering since before either of us were born in '68 with the Super Bowl. We had some good years, but we haven't had a legitimate, bona fide, great franchise quarterback. We needed one at number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we got another kid from USC who was only played in sunny weather, lived in California his whole life, and was a turnover machine his senior year. Played his way out of the number 1 pick. Sam Darnold.
Sounds about right.
Sounds like a Jet thing to do. And this also, for me, is another GM job saver pick. That's the way I look at it.
I don't know.
I feel like the Jets wanted Josh Rosen. I feel like the whole time it was Josh Rosen or Baker Mayfield. I think it was whoever was there. And I don't think they ever expected Sam Darnold to get to them.
Yeah,
and
that was the number thing. I think that was the number one thing.
But I also think that even if I know it's tough to believe because everyone thinks he's the most ready and 4,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, but his interceptions in the red zone were miserable in his final year.
And he takes his left hand off the freaking football, Alex.
All the time.
He takes his left hand off the football. He fumbles every time.
And who fumbled every time? Oh, Geno Smith and Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
And my thing is, Sam Darnold has tools. He can be a good player. Don't get me wrong. The guy can play. But I just believe that this is Mike McCagnon, that he needed to make this pick. Whether or not he liked this guy or not, he was number 1 or not, we're never going to know what the draft board says until a 30 for 30 comes out. Millions of years from now, when Josh Rosen has 4 Super Bowls and Sam Darnold's out of the league in 2 years, they're going to do another Elway something comparison. But
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you right there. Sam Darnold is my fearless leader. Okay.
Dick Hammer, baby. Dick Hammer.
Travel to the depths of hell with him and his grandfather, Dick Hammer.
Dick Hammer.
Yeah. I will travel to the depths of hell with that man, and we will emerge victorious on the other side. This guy is the truth. He is 20 years old. He can't even buy himself a beer, and he's going to win us a championship in 3 years.
Oh, man, I hope you're right. But just, I just have my issues. I think McCagnon made the pick because he had to, not because he wanted to. I think this was a pick that everyone considers him the number 1 player around, and Jets fans are brutal. If we didn't get a guy who was considered the best quarterback and Sam Darnold ended up going somewhere else and having a good career, it would have buried him. I don't think he could have went another Marino situation where the Jets pick Richard Todd over Dan Marino, and Richard Todd has a nice career, but he's not Dan Marino.
Yeah.
That couldn't happen again. So I hope that we win a lot with Sam Darnold. I hope that he has time to sit this year. I hope between McCown and Bridgewater, Darnold doesn't have to play. I feel like he's a guy that needs a year or two. I think that he's not as polished as everyone thinks he is.
He's 20 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
Kid was learning to drive 3-4 years ago.
Exactly, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm pumping my brakes on the excitement of Sam Darnold. I'm not going to knock any Jets fans that are excited about him because, damn, he's our first real quarterback we've had in forever. I didn't like Sanchez. I didn't like Geno. I thought they were both jokes. So this is at least a real guy.
Yeah, listen, I was. If you watched my reaction on Snapchat, on my friend's Snapchat, when they called Sam Darnold, I was disappointed, but I wasn't disappointed necessarily for the pick. I was still disappointed that it wasn't Mayfield. And I never in my wildest dreams could I have thought that Sam Darnold would be picked number 1. He would. So the only 2 I really were sold on were Baker and Rosen. And when his name was called, I didn't know how to react. I did some more research, and I'm happy with the pick. I just hope he limits the turnover.
I'm not gonna lie, Joe. I'm gonna be not suitable for work here. I was driving home from my apprentice class. I'm a union insulator. Driving home from my apprentice class, listening to the draft, I heard his name, and I let out a big audible fuck and hit the steering wheel. I wasn't happy.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know if we were allowed to curse. I was trying to hold back.
Oh, listen, it's a podcast. It's not a radio show. There's no FCC here.
All right, yeah, sounds good.
Exactly. So Sam Darnold, he's the Jets quarterback of hopefully the next 15 years. Hopefully we can get. I don't care about winning the chip at this point. I'm going to get there. We need to get there before we can win it.
Yeah. Do you mind if I read some nicknames off?
Read some nicknames. Make it quick, Joseph.
Okay. Hey Donald, Super Sam, Donald Trump, Samba, Big Dick Donald, Daddy Donald, SMD, Uncle Sam, DNA, the Sam Chives, Hammer Dick.
Hold on, Joe. Hold on. You're fading out. Hold on. You're fading out. You gotta read a little bit slower and more into your microphone there.
Okay. Where was
I don't even know anymore. Start over.
All right. Hey Donald, Super Sam, Donald Trump, Sambo, Big Dick Darnold, DNA, the Sam Chives, Sammy and the Jets, Subway Sam, Downtown Darnold. This kid's gonna be a legend.
I like the Darnold. The Darnold is it.
The Darnold?
Or Big Dick Darnold. Big Dick Darnold actually probably wins me more than anything, but they're not going to say that on ESPN. So
yeah.
But so we'll slide on. We'll slide on from Mr. Darnold. I know we could talk about the Jets all day, but we still have another 29 picks to go.
Again.
And a head scratcher for most, including me. I know they needed a corner. Denzel Ward's a good player. Ohio State cornerback. Nice player. Not the highest ranked corner. The Browns must have saw something they liked, but if the Browns liked it, it probably wasn't great. Besides Baker. Baker's the man. But I don't have much to say about Denzel Ward. You know, I think he's a nice player. I saw him a lot being a Big Ten fan, Rutgers fan. Go RU. But, you know, he's a corner. I hope he's a good corner. He's an undersized corner. I think he's like 5'10" and 3/4. So who knows?
Just to backtrack a little bit. Baker and the Browns broke my heart. Baker and the Browns could kick rocks, okay?
Hey, Baker had nothing to do with it.
I don't care about that kid's career anymore. He broke my heart.
Shit just got real.
He led me on. He led us all on. Baker Mayfield should be a Jet. But who cares? We got Sam Darnold.
Oh, man, we're going to have to see an orange headband with the Nike logo. We're playing the Browns this year.
No, I think he'll be smart. He'll be smart and wear like a regular white or black one.
No, he's just wearing an actual brown one. They're the goddamn Browns. They're the Browns. Stop wearing orange.
Those ugly uniforms.
Oh, listen, they've grown on me. I won a few championships with the Browns on Madden. Those uniforms have grown on me.
I don't know. It's just an ugly franchise. Ugly everything.
So we're going to move on because Denzel Ward, I hope you have a nice career. You're undersized. Yeah. They want you to play man. You weren't really a great man corner at Ohio State. So let's see. But let's move on to a guy that was highly...
These corners are getting smaller, too. I love this pick.
This pick should have been the fourth pick. This should have been the goddamn fourth pick.
Yeah. Imagine him and Garrett.
Elway literally salivated when the Broncos sat there and saw Cleveland make another Cleveland.
Yeah, and now we have a Bradley Chubb Von Miller combo.
Bradley Chubb Von Miller on a defense that people thought was getting a little old and declining. They bring in this man-child, a little undersized, a little no position, but that's okay. Yeah. He gets to play next to Von. And
they're a corner away from being stupid on defense again.
Absolutely. So Bradley Chubb, NC State defensive end. The big Chubb in this draft. Everyone knows about a running back Chubb, but Bradley Chubb became the big guy because he's the best rush D end in the draft. I love the pick. I thought that Elway might go Rosen here, but then when Bradley Chubb fell to him, he didn't have a choice. He's the best player that's left. So great pick. Broncos are going to do some damage with this. You like Bradley Chubb, obviously.
I love Bradley Chubb, and going into the draft, I actually had them taking, if the Browns didn't take him, Minka Fitzpatrick. But then I did some thinking, and I was like, if you have a good pass rush, you don't need to cover for that long.
Exactly.
You really don't. If they use the quarterback, you don't got to cover for long.
Both Giants championship teams, both of them. They had such a staunch pass rush that, don't get me wrong, they had a decent secondary. The secondary wasn't bad on the Giants. But they had such a great pass rush, they didn't have to do anything. We could talk about Tampa Bay with their great defense. It's the same exact concept. If you can hit the quarterback, he's not going to make accurate passes. Your secondary looks better.
Yeah, the Eagles are a prime example.
And the Jets were trying to do this. It's just that we could never get the pass rush. We had too many interior studs and not enough end studs.
Yeah, and then we just decided to have the best secondary in the league this year.
That was bizarre. That was bizarre that we did it reverse. We did everything else, like, even though it's mind-boggling, because there was that one time where we had a great pass rush between Sean Ellis and Johnny Abraham.
Yep.
But then it turned on its head.
We had great corners too.
Turned on its head.
To keep the QB confused, we had Revis and Cromartie, which were arguably the best duo. And now we have a different duo in President Mall and Marcus May.
And then we have those safeties, but we also have whatchamacallit?
Oh, Tremaine Johnson.
Tremaine Johnson, and then and on the other side, didn't we re-sign Claiborne?
Yeah, we re-signed Claiborne, and then you have Screen to do what he does the best.
Pick up pass interferences and defensive holdings.
One or two, but when he covers that slot, he's the best slot corner in the NFL.
I mean, when he's not getting called for defensive holding.
Yeah,
I love Buster. Listen,
you come out in that nickel package, he's gonna tear stuff up for that slot receiver.
Listen, I love Buster Screen and Jamal Adams. I went to a game last year with my brother-in-law and father-in-law. Brother-in-law got us great tickets. We were down on the field, right behind Jets bench, basically sitting there, and it was the Patriots game when Screen was having a great game. They were tearing it up. They should have won the game on a touchdown that happened.
He should have had a pick six.
And we sat there, and it was after a great play, and Jamal was hyped up like he always is. Screen was there, and I remember we were yelling, "Yeah, what's up, Jamal?" And he stared at me and my brother-in-law in the eye and gave us the cutthroat, which was great. And then Buster Screen made a great play. We're like, "Yeah, what up, Buster?" He looked at us and just gave us the biggest shit-eating grin possible.
Love that.
And it was great. That. Interaction with the fans is great.
That's fan love. That's tenacity, and you can't teach that.
And on to the 6th pick.
My favorite.
Best pick in the draft. Literally the best pick in the draft. There hasn't been one better for the team that is improving the most in the draft. And I got to say, Jim Irsay, owner of the Indianapolis Colts, came out and said...
That drunk bastard.
And him, and I don't know who the GM is, but they both came out with a joint statement. They have been screwing Andrew Luck for his whole career, and they will not let him come back on the field regardless of health if they are not protecting him. And he needs to be 100% healthy. And God damn it, they're protecting him. Because at number 6, they picked probably the most pro-ready guy. Sorry, Shaquan. Quentin Nelson of Notre Dame, offensive guard, is the most pro-ready player. They picked a guy who has the most chance of becoming a potential Pro Bowler, All-Pro, Hall of Famer. Love Quentin Nelson.
Joe Thomas.
Love him. Love him. Unbelievable player.
You ever see a picture of this guy?
He's literally the size of my house.
Yes, he's the size of your house with abs.
And also, have you seen just him, the way he plays? He just bullies everything. Everything.
He's a grown man.
Yeah.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer. We can chalk that one up.
Yeah, I really believe as long as injuries stay by the wayside. But the Colts have been doing a lot of things. And honestly, they have 3 picks in the second round. And all of them
picks in the second round.
All of them have been great. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and I think they took, of those 3 picks,
they took a tackle.
They took another lineman, and then they took a linebacker, and then they have their third that I don't know. I haven't been updated.
But it's just
at the bottom.
But they're having a great draft. So Colts are sticking. The ownership, the leadership is sticking to their word, and they are trying to protect Andrew Luck because they have just shored up. Now, let me go look. I'm on the rounds real quick. Round 2, the Colts.
Let's backtrack to Andrew Luck. This means that they think he's going to be healthy. He's going to be throwing the football.
Hell yeah.
No, do not doubt in my mind Sam Darnold's not a Colt right now, so they don't think that.
So you look, Braden Smith, Auburn offensive guard, another one of the higher-rated offensive guards who they also say can play tackle. He's a versatile guy. So you just picked up your future tackle, your future guard. Both of them could be plug-and-play starters. They picked up Darius Leonard from South Carolina State, a good outside linebacker, a rush linebacker. And they also picked up someone I know very well, being a Rutgers fan. They picked up Kamoko Torre, who is a psycho and could potentially be a 10-sack guy a year.
Yep.
The Colts have gotten really good, and if Andrew Luck is back, that's a really good football team.
And now you have people to protect the guy who's throwing to T.Y. Hilton. Think about that.
Exactly. And we're going to move on to another guy, number 7. We hate this team, but there's a guy that I believe can really, the way you like to say it, Gruden say it, the guy can spin it. Big, tall, doesn't give a crap about the elements, played with some of the worst talent in the nation at Wyoming. Josh Allen is a stud. I hate all the knocks against him. He's not accurate. You wouldn't be accurate if you were throwing the ball like a friggin' pro to middle school receivers. Come on. He was throwing it terrible. Anyone watch his pro day? I think there was 6 drops in the hands. No quarterback's accurate with that. So,
Alex, you're cutting in and out.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah, we're back.
All right, well, I'm pretty sure the podcast heard me complaining, but I was just saying that Josh Allen is basically, he was throwing to nothing at Wyoming, and he's done a lot, and he's earned all the respect, and I think the Bills, we're going to be seeing Josh Allen for a really long time as Jets fans.
I hope to God you're wrong. And I have some issues with Josh Allen. Number one is being I think he was a little bit over, maybe under 50% accurate or completion percentage. His accuracy problems and the NFL accuracy is a big thing. So hopefully when we play them twice a year at the Mo Adams, we'll have a field day.
Yeah, I know his accuracy is an issue, but he wasn't. Who was he throwing to? The receivers were terrible. His pro day, the guys dropped 5 to 6 balls right in their hands. That's who he was throwing to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and that's another great point. Kid can really. I'll tell you, man, the kid could spin it. You know what we called him?
What'd you call him?
The Fire Dragon. Because when he threw that ball, man, there was like a little fire at the end of it. I'll tell you.
You hear the inner Gruden coming out.
Big Gruden guy.
Who isn't?
Speaking of Gruden, congrats on the next 10 Super Bowls.
Seriously, the rich always get richer, man.
Yeah.
The rich
But
always.
I'd be eating it up if I was him.
So we're gonna move on to the number 8 pick.
I love this pick.
Georgia outside linebacker Roquan Smith going to the Bears.
I absolutely love this pick.
The kid can absolutely play. His draft grade is off the charts. Just a stud athletic player that is really going to bring back that nasty streak to the Bears in their secondary. Not their secondary, their linebacking core.
The Bears are going to be a good team.
Yeah, they have Mitchell back there. Mitchell's going to be able to throw the ball. He's going to improve. Mitch Trubisky. Yeah. There's a lot of young, talented quarterbacks. I don't think people realize how young and talented this league is becoming in terms of quarterback. But it's interesting now. It's interesting.
It's crazy. Names like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, they're going to be out the window soon. They're going to be retired.
Tom Brady's going to play. Tom Brady's going to outlive us all, and he's going to play before we all die. That guy's like Walt Disney, except he doesn't cryo-freeze himself. He's just going to live forever.
He's going to be the first person to turn 100 and throw a football 50 yards.
Exactly. No, Vinny T's got that. Vinny Testaverde, I think, is going to come out of retirement next year. I promise you.
No. If anybody, I think it's Matt Leinart.
Matt Leinart? Matt Leinart might.
Yeah.
He might. Look, no, Matt Leinert's still living in college. That kid's living the best college life ever. He's Van Wilder in real life.
Lives on campus.
He's Van Wilder in real life. That is what that guy is. We're moving on to number 9. San Francisco 49ers, another team that is looking to protect their franchise. They picked, projected probably the best tackle in the draft. Oh, surprise, he came from Notre Dame. Mike McGlinchey, guy's a beast. A beast.
Yeah, you got to keep that. Yeah, he is. You got to keep that pretty face of Jimmy Garoppolo pretty, I like the pick, and looking at all these Notre Dame guard or offensive linemen, how didn't they win a championship? I know they won the ball game, but dang.
Because who the hell was throwing the ball in Notre Dame?
Yeah, never mind.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it.
The only
Big
team,
Notre Dame guy.
the only team that can have an awful quarterback and win championships is Alabama.
Yeah, because Nick Saban is the Bill Belichick of college football. You could put a bag of potatoes back there and it'll throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, Nick Saban and Bill Belichick both went to the devil at the same time and sold their souls. So we're going to move on. Number 10.
They made an agreement that they can't win a championship in the same year.
I know, which is fantastically funny. We're going to go on to number 10. The Arizona Cardinals traded up to get the guy that us Jets fans really thought we were going to get. Josh Rosen, UCLA, quarterback. Probably in terms of intangibles, talent, ball skills, all that, most pro-ready guy. But he's kind of a jerk. And that's what teams don't like about him. That's really it. And he has a little bit injury issues, concussions and knee injury. But he's kind of a jerk, and that's why he fell.
No, I think the kid's got the eye of the tiger. And what he said in his post-draft interview scared the shit out of me, and I am happy he's in the NFC.
It's going to make 9 other teams regret that they didn't pick him.
He said that there were 9 mistakes made today.
It's awesome. And that chip is great. And I hate the fact that he got knocked because he has other interests outside of football. And that's ridiculous.
Yeah. He's like a gazelle on the tennis court, I hear.
What?
Yeah, I heard he could have. He was like debating a pro tennis career. He was dirty.
And that's it's really like, and you look at it, he's a smart kid, and he's just really intelligent. He has other interests outside of football. He wants to finish school, and it's just insane that we've been trying to break the stigma that football players are just big dumb jocks. And, I think the NFL's been trying to break that stigma. And here we go. We have a kid that's going to break that stigma. He's really smart. He's really talented. He has other interests. He wants to do other things outside of football, especially when he's done. And we're going to drop him down the draft board because of that.
Yeah, I really like Rosen. He was my number 2 QB on who I wanted the Jets to get. It was Mayfield and then Rosen. So they're both accurate. The only thing with Rosen is he had a shoulder injury and surgery, I think. And then the 2 concussions last year, I think, also hurts a lot because, I know a thing or two about concussions.
Yes, you do, Jeff.
And when the more you get, the more susceptible you are to them. So, I can see that, but it's different in the NFL, and hopefully he'll be protected in Arizona. But I do love he has that eye of the tiger, and he kind of reminds me of Aaron Rodgers, the way he carries, not the way he carries himself, but the way his emotions are on the field. Calm, cool, collected, poised. It's just not as mobile.
Yeah. So I like the pick for Arizona. I think they just found their quarterback. They have Sammy Bradford in front of them. Probably not going to have to play this year. Well, actually, no, I lied. He's going to have to play this year because Sam Bradford's going to get hurt. We can be realistic.
Sam Bradford's going to get hurt second week of the preseason.
So
down for 8 weeks. Rosen is going to come in. They're going to be thinking, Sam Bradford's going to come back, and then Rosen is just going to take off with that team. They're going to do some good things because he's throwing to Larry Fitzgerald, who is still alive and playing at a high level.
Larry Fitzgerald's insane. But we're sliding on to another team we hate, Miami Dolphins, who picked a fantastic player who's going to haunt us for another 10 years. It picked Minkah Fitzpatrick, safety from Alabama, who's just an all-around psycho. The guy gets everywhere. He's an Alabama secondary guy. I think we're the only team that could pick an Alabama corner and fail. But
I'm gonna bring that up.
Minkah Fitzpatrick is a stud in every single shape of the word, and I kind of don't want to talk about it because I hate the fact that the Dolphins got him. But all we could say is that secondary just got better, a lot better.
Yeah.
And we saw what young safeties can do firsthand.
They're probably gonna play him at corner. I honestly think.
Or they might just play him as a floater. He might be a deep guy, but also walk down and take guys away if he has to.
Yeah. How tall is he? He's shorter, right?
I thought he was around the 6 foot range. I didn't think he was super tall.
Yeah, all these DVs are getting smaller and smaller. That's why you find a Richard Sherman type guy, 6'3" and athletic, and you could just drop him back cover 3 and no one's going to get behind him because you can't throw the ball over his head.
Yeah, well, we could be on to that. Richard Sherman's a safety. Can we all stop calling him a corner? Yeah. He's a cover 3 safety, bottom line.
100%.
But, everyone calls him a great corner. Yeah, it's easy to be a great corner when all you do is drop back and read. Stop.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on to a pick that I actually really like. It got a little bit of flack. I'm not going to pronounce his whole name because it's not listed here. But Vita Vea, number 12, Tampa Bay Bucks. I know they're loaded. They've done some work on the defensive tackle, but you can't give up Vita Vea. Vita Vea is the type of guy that if he can develop a pass rush, he's everything. He's a monster. He's going to eat up double teams, and Gerald McCoy's going to have a field day in rushing the passer. It's a great pick.
Milano's a freak of nature.
Great pick. And my buddy Louis Rosado out there, shout out Lou, big Tampa Bay Bucks fan. You're going to be happy with this pick. This pick is going to take you places, and the defense that was probably the worst defense, one of the worst defenses in the league last year. I think they were the worst in terms of yards per play. I think they were somewhere near 6+ yards per play. they're going to be a much different team just from being able to have a guy that's going to be able to take two guys every single time.
I think they are, yeah, because he's one of those guys that beat tackle. You stick him right in the middle, and he'll pick up both A gaps right there.
And speaking of a guy, number 13, the Redskins, Daron Payne, Alabama defensive tackle. Another type of player that's going to eat up double teams. And he really made those linebackers look really good in Alabama because Daron Payne was another one. He's a mauler. He's a beast.
Yep.
So Washington, right after Tampa Bay, we saw both defensive tackles go right after. Washington got a really good pick. Washington is shaping up to be a pretty good team.
Yeah, the NFC East is going to be back to one of the, well, not that it already wasn't, but like they're going to probably be the best, most competitive division, the NFC East, that we've seen in a while since 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, back when Seattle was decent or really good.
Yeah, the NFC is going to be a gauntlet. Definitely going to be a gauntlet. Now, number 14, the Saints traded for this pick. I'm not going to, lie to anyone and say I know much about Marcus Davenport, defensive end out of UT San Antonio. I'm not going to tell you. I don't know much. Joe, what do you know about him?
I don't know much about him, but what I do know about the Saints is they don't need any more players. They're a good football team, and they're going to be good for years to come. They got young safeties, and just to have another, hopefully a pass rusher, to really make the QB make some bad decisions and hopefully throw it to the young guys in the secondary. But the Saints are a scary team. A lot of NFC teams are scary, actually, looking at it.
They are. But speaking of a team that's not in the NFC, an AFC team, Chucky's team, John Gruden's back, number 15. Drafting his first pick back as the coach, GM, seemingly everything. I think the guy probably is having a statue built in his name right now as we speak. Yeah. He selects Colton Miller, UCLA offensive tackle, the guy that protected Josh Rosen.
And I love that because you look at Derek Carr. Derek Carr has been hurt, and last year didn't help that he was on his butt a lot of the times. So, if Derek Carr is like a very good QB, and he's hopefully going to be one of the greats. Maybe not go that far, but he's a solid QB that can win you a championship if you protect him.
He definitely can, and the Raiders' offensive line has been a good line. It was a little bit injured, but you add up another player in Colton Miller who can step in and start right away or compete for a starting position in that line. So it's a smart move. What's up?
Is Marshawn Lynch still on that team?
I don't know. Marshawn Lynch needs to go away. That hurt the Raiders more than anything.
Yeah.
Letting go of Latavius Murray, who was a very good running back for you, straight line, gained a lot of yards, ran hard. You got rid of him to beast mode, and beast mode wasn't beast mode. He was just having fun, being back in his hometown, but sorry, you're getting paid money. Stop just having fun and go play.
Yeah, he wasn't beast mode, he was just mode.
Exactly.
And that mode was eat Skittles and sleep on the sidelines and then dance when your team wins the game.
So hopefully, I don't know if Marshawn's still under contract. For Derek Carr's sake, I hope he's not, because he didn't do much. So we're going to move on to number 16. The Bills were up again, and they picked another really good pick, and I still hate them. They picked Tremaine Edwards, Virginia Tech outside linebacker. Very good outside linebacker, an athletic stud. The guy is a really good moving the ball. He can rush the passer. He can do a little bit of everything. So, another really good pick. The Bills are building, and they're gonna be a good team. The Bills are gonna be a good team.
Building on that defense that got them to the first round of the playoffs, and that somehow they only lost by 3 points 4 points when only putting up 3 points. So. Future is bright in Buffalo. Maybe they'll get a touchdown in the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll get one out of Josh Allen.
Yeah. We'll see. So we're done talking about the Bills. Hopefully the rest of the draft, because I don't like them.
Thank God.
Moving on to number 17. A guy that I thought was going to go a lot higher. Probably, I think, the best defensive player besides Minka and Bradley Chubb. He's probably number 3. A guy that teams are going to struggle to find a place for because he's really good. But The Chargers selected Derwin James. He's hopefully going to replace Eric Weddle, who was a stalwart safety on that team. They want to find that guy. Derwin James is a smart player. He's an athletic player, and I think he could do really well in San Diego.
How tall is he?
I don't know. You're obsessed with height.
Height is huge in secondary. If you could get a tall guy that you just can't throw over.
He's 6'3". Derwin James is 6'3", so he's good. Good height.
That's fantastic. That is a QB playing safety right there. He could see over the offensive line. We could put him back there. Take snap.
Absolutely. So Derwin James goes there. Next pick is a pick that if you were going to take a corner, Browns, if you were going to take a corner, you probably should have taken this kid. Number 18, Green Bay Packers select Jair Alexander, cornerback from Louisville, who in a year where Louisville, really disappointed a lot of people, this kid just stepped up and played great. Jair Alexander, I know he was injured, so that definitely hurt, but kid's awesome. Great pick for the Packers.
Yeah, I think it was a great pick, but here's who I'm yelling at right now that I'm angry with. Why didn't Seattle take this kid who just lost Richard Sherman, who's probably going to lose Earl Thomas, and who's probably going to soon lose Cam Chancellor?
Yeah, no idea. But Seattle didn't pick yet, and I didn't think they wanted to trade.
No. I thought they traded with...
oh, they did?
Yeah, they traded with the Packers. They gave this pick away.
So, I don't know. Listen, it's tough to doubt and stop and really question what the Seattle does because, they've done some good things. They pick guys, and it really hasn't. I don't think they give a shit about these picks. Their great picks have come in the 5th, 6th, 4th round. Like, they don't care. These picks, they're nice and everything, but they find the diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, they have crazy old man Pete Carroll out there who's ready to press that nuke button. He doesn't care.
Hey, listen, and Cap may be going there. Pete Carroll stirred that pot saying there might be a home for Kaepernick there. So we'll see if Kaepernick goes there. What type of pressure is going to be on Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson got off to a shaky start last year. So if he gets off to a shaky start, Kaepernick sitting there, is there going to be the pressure to end the Russell Wilson era that early?
No shot. If you look at what Russell Wilson did last year, he might have started off really slow, but he made up for, I think, all but one touchdown that Seattle had.
I know, but a polarizing guy like Colin Kaepernick, who is apparently going to be the heir apparent talent-wise to being the next elite level, the modern quarterback, the guy with the strong arm, but with insane mobility, like he was it, and he was huge. Big dude that could take hits and move like that, and he was fast as hell.
Oh, yeah. He was very athletic. I don't want to get into politics, but I watched the video of him throwing the football, and I don't know if it was just the angle of the camera. He looked kind of out of shape, which I would be too if I wasn't playing. But also, another big thing is the balls are just like drifting behind wide. Like you're not in pads, and the balls are just drifting behind players. I don't want to knock on the guy. I mean, if he comes in, I hope he does well. It's just what I saw from the few passes I've seen.
Well, I think that has to do with the pace of the game. And like you said, he hasn't played for a while, so it's probably not going to look as good. And his arm motion has always been terrible. He doesn't have a quick release. He has a very slow release. He has a cannon of an arm, but his release is very slow. He's fairly accurate for it, but that's tough to get by in the NFL. Obviously, I don't think he would ever replace Russell, but I'm just saying if the start happens slow, if the team's faltering, there's going to be that pocket of Kaepernick fans who, besides his playing are also political allies that are going to clamor for him to play because they want their message. They're using Colin Kaepernick in that sense because they're going to want their message to be right out in the forefront as a starter of the Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
And I'm not here to say whether or not his message is right, wrong, merited. That's not this spot to say it.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying
we're not political.
We're not. But I'm just saying in that sense, that's where it was coming from. Does Colin Kaepernick deserve talent-wise to be in the NFL? Yes. If he's going to take butts out of the seats for owners because of his political stance that he's choosing to make, I can't blame the owners for not taking him. So just like he has the right to say what he wants, it's a business, and the owners have the right to not bring that political stance to their stadiums. So,
as much as I hate to compare him to somebody, I'm going to do it, and it's Tim Tebow.
In a way, yeah.
You saw when Tim Tebow went to the Jets, oh, we're a circus. Oh, we're this, the media attention. everything, Tebow mania. Teams just don't want that because when you get publicity, you get, I think I saw this play. Next thing you know, a team has your playbook. So that's why I think his political stance is such a big issue when it comes to owners. It's people who only care about politics and only care about yelling. I guess, no offense. They don't understand the football side to it, and that comes with media, that comes with press coverage, that teams don't want. That's why Hard Knocks is having so hard of a time finding a team that will let them follow them around all off season through training camp and stuff.
And I agree with that. And it's funny, and you see, the teams that are the Patriots, the Steelers, even the Seahawks. They're not, their players are open, but they're a tight-lipped organization in terms of the way they run things. So no one wants to open up their gates. The only teams that do it are the teams that are kind of a circus. Our Jets were kind of a circus under Rex.
They were.
He was great. I loved Rex Ryan. He was brash. He was a very good defensive coach, but he did run a very loose ship. That wasn't a secret. So,
100%.
But Joe, go ahead, Joe.
And another thing is, there are players who've done it a different way. Richard Sherman, his post-game press conference was dedicated. I think he dedicated one to Chicago kids, and he just talked about that. There's different ways to get your point across, and that's one of the right ways.
I agree, but we know Richard Sherman is one of the most intelligent players. It doesn't matter what school he went to. What do you go? Stanford? He's smart as hell.
Yeah, Stanford.
That's not a surprise.
I think he finished top of his class.
Yeah, the guy's smart, but like you said, in every way, Richard Sherman's going to get his point across intelligently every single time, and everyone's going to hear it because he speaks, and it's a great way. And I'm not saying Colin Kaepernick isn't getting his point across in a way, but Richard Sherman isn't doing it in a way that's alienating people.
We're not saying he's intelligent. We're saying it affects the team as a whole, which is why you just can't have that media. You can't have that circus there.
Exactly. So Joe, we're going to run a little bit here because I want to be able to get UFC in. So we're going to start. We're going to talk number 19. The Cowboys picked Leighton Vander Esch, Boise State inside linebacker. Love the pick. I just think he looks like a big, goofy, blonde-haired Sean Lee. Hopefully he does it without the health issues that Sean Lee has. I like this pick. I think that they need an heir apparent inside linebacker. They need someone that's going to be a beast. He's a sideline type player. Boise's had good players come to the league before. What do you think about him?
They need a linebacker who will give them 16 games, and that's what they'll get with this kid out of Boise. That's really all I have to say. You get 16 games out of him, it's better than Sean Lee playing 5.
Agreed. Even though when Sean Lee plays those 5, he's probably one of the best inside linebackers of those 5 games.
Yeah, don't
insane.
Disrespect Luke Kuechly like that.
Listen, Sean Lee will get 50 tackles in those 5 games, except he'll break his collarbone on the last one. That's just him.
Yeah. No, yeah, I understand that.
All right, so we're going to go 2021. Both of them centers. The Lions at 20. The Cincinnati Bengals at 21. Both of them needed these guys. Frank Ragnow of Kansas went to the Lions. Billy Price of Ohio State went to the Bengals. Both of them need guys to protect their franchise quarterback, Matty Stafford and Andy Dalton. I don't know as much about Ragnow. I know Billy Price, again, Big Ten fan. Bill Price is a mauler. Ohio State, they needed him to be there because he was just a beast. He protected JT Barrett. He made him a better player. I like Billy Price. I think he's really good for the Bengals. I just think the Bengals shouldn't have the same coach that they have, and I think they should move on from Andy Dalton, but that's a different podcast. Don't know much about Frank Ragnow.
There's gonna be a nuclear war, and Marv Lewis is gonna emerge as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
Nuclear fallout, and out of the ashes rise Marv Lewis.
Basically, that's where it really is. And then Andy Dalton is just gonna pop out somewhere behind him, like, man, I'm here still too, man.
Yeah, fixing his hair.
So, because I can't speak intelligently on Frank Ragnow, I'm not going to speak on it. I'm just going to say the guys in Detroit are pros and probably know more than I do. Good pick, I guess.
Yeah.
We're going to go to 22. The Tennessee Titans, Rashaan Evans, Alabama inside linebacker. You can't go wrong picking a guy from Alabama that plays defense. There's really all you need to say about that.
Yeah, I was about to say, any linebacker that comes out of Alabama or Miami, you take that person.
Exactly. And there you go. We're going to go on to 23. the New England Patriots. God, I hate them. But this is one of...
It's New England. It's a good pick. Move on to the next
one. Yeah, one of two picks. They picked Isaiah Wynn, Georgia offensive tackle. Oh, they just got rid of Nate Solder. Oh, they picked a tackle. See a need, fill a need.
Oh, yeah, they just found the replacement to Nate Solder.
Exactly. Something, 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 Patriot way. Something, 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 Pro Bowl. Something, 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 great player, Hall of Fame. Move on, Super Bowl, Tom Brady, 50-plus touchdowns for the next 10 years. Yep. Going on to 24. Your sister's favorite team, Brittany. What up? Shout out Brittany Schmidt. What up, Britt? Go listen to her. Go listen to her podcast. Are you there Friday? It's me, Brittany. Awesome to listen to. Number 24, DJ Moore, Maryland wide receiver. Don't know why the hell they picked him. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not. DJ Moore's fast as hell. Not a really refined route runner. I guess they wanted the speed next to Funchess. I would have went with Calvin Ridley. That's just me because I think Calvin Ridley's the best receiver in the draft. DJ Moore brings speed.
How tall is Ridley?
Ridley is a shorter guy. I think he's 6 foot.
Okay, no, but even that's better than DJ Moore. DJ Moore's 5'11". He's fast, but I don't think that's what Carolina needs right now. You know, you saw what we did see what a fast receiver does in that system with Ted Ginn, but I think they need that solid number one that you could line up, that you don't really want to line up in the slot, that you want a big possession receiver. He's going to catch the ball and he's going to catch touchdowns for Cam Newton.
And the thing is, I saw what they said. They said they want the burner next to Devin Funchess as a possession guy. But Devin Funchess did it for 1 year. Who the hell knows if he's going to do it for 2 in a row, 3 in a row, what they're going to need him to do?
Not even that. I don't think Funchess is a 1.
No.
I think he's a 2 receiver.
I don't know who their 1 is. They gave away their 1. Granted, Kelvin Benjamin wasn't being the guy, but they passed up on a chance to get Calvin Ridley, who's a bona fide 1.
Yeah. I guess trust the process. They picked the right position. I guess you can give them an A for that. But I can't see them not addressing this position again in the draft or in free agency.
Sorry, Britt. We don't like your pick. I'm sorry. We don't like your team's pick. You can get mad at us later.
Dead Bryant. Dead Bryant's going to be Panther.
That would be great. That would be awesome. Cam and Dez, that would be the next Terrell Owens crying for Romo. I could see Dez crying for Cam.
I could see that too. If he doesn't go to an NFC East team, he's definitely going to the Panthers. Mark my words.
Or the Bills are interested. The Bills are interested. There was that. Anyway.
I know he declined a contract, a multi-year contract from the next team we're going to talk about.
From the Baltimore Ravens, because he doesn't want elite Joe Flacco throwing to him, and he might not get elite Joe Flacco, and he might sign with them after the 32nd pick. But we're on 25. Hayden Hurst, South Carolina tight end. Widely considered the best tight end in the draft. Great pickup for the Ravens. He fell in their lap. They need a great tight end. The kids can catch passes. Really good player. I really like the pick.
I'm biased in the tight end position. I think the best tight end is Mike Gesicki, who went to the Dolphins today, just because I covered him.
Yeah, Mike Gesicki is a monster. But Hayden Hurst, I know Mike Gesicki showed out in the combine, but Hayden Hurst is widely considered to be the best tight end overall.
Yeah. I mean, I deflected 2 balls that were intended for him, and then he lost me, so that's pretty cool.
I think Mike Gesicki has lost a lot of people in his career, and he's going to do it in the pros.
Yeah, and he actually caught the game winner on us, and he didn't catch it. The ball hit the ground, but the ref didn't see it, so he caught it. Now, still mad about that.
Joe's not mad at all. So, but my boy Josh Siegel, my athlete, you guys have heard him on the podcast before. Big time Baltimore Ravens fans. I like the pick. It's a good pick. Ravens needed it.
Yeah. I think, they need a tight end. Who is their tight end right now?
I have no friggin' clue.
Is it Watson or?
It might be. It's some old guy that's a better blocker than receiver at this point.
Oh yeah, it's Ben Watson. He had a few good years with the Saints, but probably the Drew Brees' time. So.
Oh, Ben Watson was a Patriot too. Don't forget. That's where he started.
Oh yeah, yeah. From Tom Brady, Drew Brees, that's a big decline.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All that. Boo. But going on. 26, the guy that your Panthers probably should have drafted. Atlanta Falcons get a number 1 to go with their other number 1 to go with their probably number 2, possibly 1. Calvin Ridley of Alabama wide receiver. Teaming up with Julio Muhammad Sanu. Huh?
And they're going to see him twice a year.
and they're gonna see you twice a year. So
You're going to be reminded twice a year.
he teams up with Julio Jones, arguably right up there with Antonio Brown, AJ Green is one of the best, Odell Beckham is one of the best in the league. Mohamed Sanu, who has just been productive, shout out Rutgers, productive throughout his whole career. And now you have Calvin Ridley, who now you can slide Sanu into his natural position, which is being a big, tall slot receiver that pushes around tiny slot corners and catches balls across the middle. You have Julio Jones, who's just a freak. Calvin Ridley, who's a stud possession receiver and a great route runner coming out of college. If Matt Ryan, message to you, if you somehow fuck this up, you need to leave with your tail between your legs in Atlanta. Please don't mess this up. Please.
He's Matty Ice for the wrong reasons.
And you still have two great running backs behind you. You can't mess this up. You can't. You can't. I don't care if your line is the play 60 kid 5 times. You can't mess this up.
You honestly can't. And hold on, I think the Jets just drafted.
They did. They drafted a defensive tackle because, more defense.
No, it's understandable. I want us to go offensive line now. This round.
Listen, we trust, okay? We still have faith.
Trust the process.
So we're going on. Number 27, the Seattle Seahawks traded back to draft a running back that nobody probably had on their board besides them. Rashad Penny, San Diego State running back.
This pick just baffles me. I think Nick Chubb was still on.
Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, they were both still there.
And Nick Chubb were both still on, and you picked this kid.
Trust, I guess. Pete Carroll, either he's going senile or he's still a genius. It's one or the other.
That crazy old bastard. He's pressing on your foot. He's blowing up that franchise. He has nothing to live for past 70. How do you not go corner, dude?
I don't know. Listen, they have a plan. They have corners rated like in the 3rd, 2nd round for the 5th round that they know are going to drop. They're going to figure out a way to get some 6'4" freak with great hips that can play in a cover 3, and boom, what up, Richard Sherman? You're back. That's what's going to happen. It's what's going to happen.
This was a reach, dude. This might be the biggest reach in the draft.
And I think that's why they traded back, because they wanted it to look better, but I think he's a 2nd-round kid, and they picked him in the 1st, so who knows? So we're going to go on to another reach. 28, the Steelers. I know Steelers fans trust him. I probably trust him too, because what have they really done wrong? But they picked Terrell.
I hear Colton complaining right now.
They picked Terrell Edwards, Vatex safety, and Colton Gesser. He was a big Saints fan. We know of him. He's been on the podcast. He was even head scratching as well, but he trusts it. I guess all you could do is trust it. They shore up the defense a little. Their defense has been the shakiest it's been in a real long time. So they pick up a kid who I think also rated probably pretty low, not a 1st-round talent. They reached for him. Mm-hmm. They saw something. And it's kind of funny. Yeah. We can doubt the Seahawks and Steelers all we want, but when those two franchises see something, they're probably right.
Yeah, but the Steelers are also, you can't blame them because they're in that territory where, this guy isn't a 1st-round guy, but he's not going to be there when we're up in the 2nd round. So, he's just one of those guys that you just kind of feel the need to take him.
Exactly. We're going to move on to Jacksonville, the team that beat the Bills by 3 points in one of the lowest-scoring, ridiculous playoff games of all time. Taven Bryan, Florida defensive tackle. I'd be lying if I said I knew much about him. Joe, do you know anything about him?
I don't know much about him. Florida's a good program. This guy gave him a B for drafting him, so I guess they just shore up the defensive line. I'm surprised they didn't go wide receiver after they lost Hearns, but I guess there wasn't anyone who really caught their attention. I don't
know. So
and they lost Allen Robinson. Why did they go with receiver?
I don't know. This is a head scratcher for me too, Joe. I don't understand why they didn't go offense here, but I digress. We're going to move on because Jacksonville's doing Jacksonville things.
I know why. Leonard Fournette is going to be that offense. Leonard Fournette is the Jacksonville offense.
Like he wasn't already. No, they just plan on seeing the Bills again in the 1st round, so they need to stop them even more. That's it.
Don't disrespect the boat. He hasn't lost a game in the new uniform.
Oh, Jesus, please. We're going to continue. We're going to go on to number 30, the
He's
Minnesota
never lost an Olympic
Vikings
event.
selected Mike Hughes, cornerback from the national champion UCF Golden Knights. They're the national champions, damn it.
Yeah. I just saw that pick. How tall is he? Big height guy.
Oh, listen, I actually like Mike Hughes. I know a little bit about him. I watched a little UCF from our boy Kyle Burns. He's really educated us to get us watching him.
Yeah.
He's a good cover corner. Was easily the best cover corner on the UCF team. He does some good things, and he's going to help shore up a team that was pretty close to getting to the Super Bowl. So I can't.
Yeah.
And now they.
And he's also an athlete. I'm reading right now that he had like 635 yards on 20 kickoff returns. The thing that actually jumps out at me, I don't know if it's good or bad. It is college football. In 11 games, he had 49 tackles. So he's not afraid to really stick his. But like I don't know. I don't really know if that's a high amount of tackles for a corner.
I mean, for a corner, it's not. It tells me that they weren't going to his side and that they weren't throwing at him, so he didn't have to make a lot of tackles.
Mm-hmm.
So, but also,
it's just whenever I see a corner with a low tackles, it means either they're not throwing to him or he is Deion Sanders and afraid to hit.
The corner, the whole entire kickoff return thing is irrelevant at this point in the NFL because no one returns the ball anymore. They're going to get rid of kicks in general.
Now.
By the way, dumbest rule on the planet, NCAA. I just read, if you get a ball within the 25 kickoff within the 25-yard line and you fair catch it, it's considered a touchback. It doesn't have to go into the end zone anymore. It's within the 25. Stop kicking the ball if you're going to do that. It's the dumbest rule I ever heard.
Just get rid of it. Just start from the 25 then if you really want to.
Or if I'm a college coach and they make that rule, I'm squibbing every single kick from now on. Everyone.
Yeah.
Make them return it.
The big guys pick it up.
Yeah, make them return it. Squib it, make them return it because that's part of a strategy. You want to pin them. So, no, this is dumb. It's stupid. NCAA, you have showed your stupidity once again. Moving on to the stupid Patriots again.
It totally takes out the factor of, like, mistakes being... Yeah, I know it's for concussions because people are flying down and destroying each other, but, the whole thing about, should I take it out and should I not take it out just becomes irrelevant now. It's just not fun.
No, it's stupid. And it takes away a bunch of roster spots for freshmen, sophomores that are developing, and young players in the pro game that are developing or become special team specialists. I hate it. I hate what they're doing to special teams. I hate this whole entire safety thing. Will Smith, I kind of hate you for making the movie Concussion. All dumb. Yeah. Anyway, even though Concussion was a great movie, but I hate you. It was? Yeah, it was it was really good. But we're going on. Number 31, the stupid Patriots again have a stupid luck of getting stupid players that fall to them. Sony Michel has injury concerns as fumble concerns, but probably one of the most talented players in the draft.
I feel like he's a clone of what Dion Lewis is now.
Yeah, he probably is.
Yeah, he's a great running back. He'll fumble every now and then, and he might get hurt, but he's gonna be he's gonna be a solid pick, and hopefully Bill Belichick will retire soon.
It just annoys me how they always seem to get these type of players. Listen, I don't care who was in front of them. Why don't you guys block him? Stop letting Bill get all this crap.
Yeah.
God, I hate everyone. And on to the surprise pick of the draft, the final pick of the first round for the Baltimore Ravens, the future of the franchise, Elite Joe Flacco. You're going to be shown the door after this year. Lamar Jackson, Louisville QB, is a Baltimore Raven. I know my boy Josh Siegel was probably jumping up and down. I have my questions. I have my concerns about Lamar, about his size, about some of the durability. But at 32, it's a great value.
Yeah, they traded with the Eagles, and I think the Eagles got some good picks out of that. The thing that I like, listen, you can knock anyone for their size. You can knock I know Lamar Jackson is an amazing athlete. He's got heart. Apparently, he's going to bring them to a Super Bowl, which, hey, I'm more power to you. I really, really hope you do. But the only thing that questions me, you could have the heart, you could have the size, or not even the size. You could have the heart, but if you don't have the smarts, you're not gonna succeed in the league. And smart is the biggest thing I look in every player. I think that's the most important aspect in every superstar. They're smart. studies, and I'm not saying they could find the stoichiometric equation of this and that. No, I'm saying that they're football smart. They understand the game, and they understand the X's and O's, and they could eventually, as their career develops, they could take over for the coach, kind of like what Peyton Manning did.
Exactly. So we're going to wraps up the first round of the NFL draft. That's all we're going to cover here because the second and third is going on as we speak. So I did promise a little USC. We're a little long. If you made it to this point, thank you. Promise some UFC. We're going to run a little bit quicker probably than we wanted to through it, but we're definitely going to make sure we get to the most recent UFC event. UFC, was this the most recent one? Yeah, I think Fight Night was the most recent.
Yeah, Fight Night was the most recent, in which my man, the Tom Drew legend himself, Frankie Edgar, beat who, Cub Swanson?
Yep, he beat Cub Swanson. I got to give a big shout out again, Frankie Edgar, Tom's River. Shout out Tom's River. And I got to shout out to my boy, Brian Blue, All-Star Sports Academy owner, also strength and conditioning coach to Frankie Edgar, Edson Barboza, and Corey Anderson. All three of those guys on the cards. 2 out of 3 got victories. Frankie did win against Cub Swanson in the most Frankie way possible, unanimous decision. Frankie always goes to decision. The guy's a psycho.
I mean, the thing is, he needed to. He got. I don't know if you know this, but in the prior UFC event, it was 2 UFC events ago.
Yeah,
he got knocked out by one of my favorite up and comers, Brian Ortega, who was getting a title shot. I think July 7th.
Deservedly, and the sad part about that was if Frankie got past Ortega, he was scheduled and ready and poised to fight Conor.
So now it's believed that title is going to happen, and that Frankie will get the winner of that.
And I know Ortega's an up-and-comer. I hope Conor beats him because I want to see Conor Edgar. I really do. Mm-hmm. That to me is the match I want to see.
He's fighting. Conor isn't. They took away his lightweight, or this is featherweight.
This is featherweight. You can't take away his fucking championship.
No, they took away all of his titles. So right
it's
now,
ridiculous.
Yeah, so because he hasn't fought in since this is before the Floyd Mayweather fight.
But he got his ass beat by Floyd, and he's the biggest name in your sport. He's the biggest draw in your sport. Yeah. It's a publicity stunt that they took it away. They just want him to go back from the bottom again.
I understand that. But right now the title is held by Max Holloway, and he's another very good fighter.
Given to Max Holloway. It was given to him.
But I think Ortega takes the title in UFC 226. Mr. Daddy Longleg, he's got a reach that's stupid. His picks are stupid. Even though he knocked Frankie out with a uppercut, which is lifted him off. It was like a rock'em sock'em robot. But it was good to see Frankie. It was good to see Frankie rebound in this Fight Night against Cub Swanson because it proved that he still has 5 rounds in him. You know, those 3 rounds just felt incomplete for both fighters. You know, they're both used to fighting that at least the main card 5 rounds. He only gave these guys 3 rounds. Frankie dominated, kept the pressure on all 3 rounds, and he showed that he deserved to win. But I honestly think that this fight could have went all 5.
Now, Frankie's a gauntlet fighter. That's just what Frankie does. You're not going to see Frankie submit or knock too many people out. He's going to go 3 rounds. He's going to go 5 rounds. And Frankie's face, win or lost, never looks the same. His face is always beat up. Frankie is known for looking like he lost every time, even when he wins.
Always gets that cut under the eyes of
Oh, yeah. And I have a question for you. This is something that's always annoyed me about UFC. Their scoring is, they take the boxing scoring, and I don't think you can use the boxing scoring technique and the way that they do it when you're dealing with takedowns, when you're dealing with submissions. Yeah, I've always wanted to go more to a wrestling style scoring where
they're actually starting to do that. But the thing I want to point out, I'll point it out later, is we start talking about UFC 23 is Joanna Jacek. She actually, if you look at the stats, statistically, she won the fight against Rose Namajunas. But I think it's Namajunas had like a total of a minute control.
We'll talk about that more, though. We'll talk about that more, Joe, because I have a point to make about that.
Okay.
We're going to stick with Fight Night. In the main event fight, Kevin Lee defeated Edson Barboza. TKO, stoppage. Barboza is in the All-Star Sports Academy camp. I was rooting for Barboza. One thing about that fight, Barboza just battled. He was never, I think he had one decent round, but he was never in control of the fight. Kevin Lee kind of beat his ass all fight. But Barboza really fought hard, showed that he's a fighter. I think earned the chance to get another, maybe not against Kevin Lee, but he definitely has another fight in him to get back to where he is now. What did you see? Why did Kevin Lee dominate that fight so much?
It was just constant pressure. It's just a lot of these, and this was a 5-round fight. It went to the 5th round, and you see a lot of these guys, whenever they have to go 3 rounds, you see the best keep that pressure on all 3 rounds. And when you get into the 4th, when you get into the 5th, that's when you start running out of gas. And you really didn't see him run out of gas. He just dominated the whole fight.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out real quick to the preliminary card. I was on Fox Sports 1. Light heavyweight Corey Anderson, another All-Star Sports Academy fighter, trained under Brian Blue. He defeated Patrick Cummins. Corey is an up-and-coming light heavyweight. I've seen him fight in person. I've hung out with him before. After one of his fight night fights in Albany. Awesome dude, great guy, wish nothing but the best. Any other guys on this card that are fights on this card you want to talk about?
No, not really. It was a good one for Barboza.
So we'll slide on. We'll go to UFC 23, which was absolutely hijacked by Conor McGregor and the whole antics with the bus attack and throwing a hand truck through a bus window that injured a bunch of fighters, which, honestly, I'm not going to lie, it's freaking hilarious. You do a hand truck through a bus window. I'm sorry. It's funny.
I think that's great. I think it's charisma. It's something you can't teach.
But
right. I just hated it right when people started dropping from fighting Khabib. I think everyone's afraid of Khabib. But we'll get into that later. I kind of want to talk about, we'll talk about Khabib first.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Khabib's a beast. Yeah, I'm familiar with Khabib. Khabib's, if anyone watched the movie, have you seen the movie Warrior with Joe Egerton and, Tom Hardy?
No, I haven't.
It's a movie about MMA, and they do what's called, it's a guy, a billionaire guy, does a tournament of champions, basically, in Atlantic City, where he takes 16 fighters, and within 24 hours, they go and bring it down to the best fighter. Kurt Angle plays this Russian juggernaut who just beats everyone's ass, and Joel Egerton's one of the fighters. He eventually beats him in an underdog story, and then he goes on to fight Tom Hardy, who's his brother, who's just a monster, but I digress. Khabib kind of reminds me of that character, where he just is kind of this unstoppable foreign force that nobody knows how to handle.
Right now, but you look at these stats. Al Iaquinta, I have my hat off to that guy. He freaking took the fight in less than a day's notice. You look at the stats of Khabib, 172 total strikes, 134 of them being significant. And then you look at Iaquinta, 43 total strikes landed, but 41 of them being, and 41 significant strikes. It just looks so unbalanced. But if you watch the fight, I think now, notice how after that fight, people are starting, I want to fight Khabib. Because Al Iaquinta took that fight on 1 day's notice, and he proved, he staggered Khabib a few times. There were points in the fight where I was like, oh my God, this is a Rocky Balboa story.
Now, I want to stop you real quick. There's something to be said about taking it on 1 day's notice. Yes, it was difficult on Al Iaquinta. Now, these guys are always in shape. But, Khabib was preparing for another fighter. He was watching tape. He was learning tendencies. And he didn't know this guy's tendencies. So, it's kind of, for me, it's a little more impressive that Khabib ended up dominating the fight the way he did. Yeah, you watched it. There was a little more, he got hit more than you thought he would. But at the same time, he didn't know what to expect. He knew basically the bare minimum, had to study that night the same way Iaquinta had to study that night. So I kind of give it to Khabib where he was able to be flexible too. Khabib could have easily said, no, fuck off. I'm not fighting. My guy's not fighting. I'm done. Pay me. I came. So.
No, he could have said that. It's just. I think other fighters noticed this too, that you got Al Iaquinta, who I know they all study each other whenever they're not preparing for someone, of course, because that's just what professionals do. You see all these lightweights coming in. Oh, I want to fight Khabib next because they realize that he's human. This fight, you know. Yeah, if you look at this, I didn't even notice this. I mean, it seemed like it. He had 10 minutes of total control. Like he was. Khabib is a grappler. He's a great wrestler, and he's going to do that. And Iaquinta had no control.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, everyone's saying they want to fight him because he looked vulnerable in this fight. I think it had a lot more to do with the lack of prep that he was allowed to have. They're going to regret it.
Yeah.
They're going to regret it. I'm telling you right now, Khabib, when he has time to prepare, is going to beat their ass.
You know what I love about Khabib? Not many people know this. You can look it up on YouTube. There's a video of that kid, a child. I think he was 9 years old. He wrestled a freaking bear. He was just wrestling a bear, dude. He was tossing it around.
All right, so we're going to go back to what you were talking about before. Joanna, I really can't pronounce her name. Jedrzejczyk?
Yeah.
Jedrzejczyk?
You want me to help you?
Yeah, please.
All right, so
Joanna, okay.
Now this is gets a little crazy, okay? Polish a little crazy. Yem.
Just pronounce it completely.
Jędrzejczyk.
Jędrzejczyk. Yeah, listen, I had a few Polish friends. I know that what you see on the page is not anything. Just throw it out the window. So Joanna Jędrzejczyk, however you say it, fighting.
Joanna.
I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing Hooked on Phonics with you again, Joe. We're not doing this.
Okay. We'll just call her
Joanna. That's it, Joanna. I think everyone else just calls her that anyway. So Joanna lost the fight to Rose Namajunas, and you have the complaint where Joanna probably controlled the fight. Joanna was probably the better fighter.
No. This is what I'm going to argue. If you watch the fight, the stats show that Joanna won. Okay? She had more total strikes, more significant strikes. But Namajunas, she had that about a minute of control. All right? And if you just watch the fight, she countered well. She attempted takedown. Joanna didn't. There's just that pressure that she had, and honestly, it was, for the most part, even though the stats argue it, I'd say it's very one-sided towards Rose.
And my thing is, too, and when you look at the fights, when you're fighting a champion, stats throw them out the window. You need to unequivocally either knock them out or dominate them. Those are the only two things for the championship to change hands. And I want to bring up a fight that I watched a while back. I watched it with my good friend Megan Blue, brother of Brian Blue. Funny enough, they have the same last name. She's very entrenched in UFC because her brother is who he is. We were over at Buffalo Wild Wings because we wanted to watch. It was the Alexander Gustafsson and John Bones Jones fight. Awesome fight. Awesome fight. Gustafsson beat his ass. Beat his ass. We were both sitting there going, Bones should probably lose. But he didn't knock him out, and he didn't beat him enough where it was unequivocal that he won the fight. So Jones kept the championship. And that's how it works in fighting, in martial arts and fighting style sports. You need to destroy them. And
I think that very shortly we're going to get a third go at it with Joanna and Rose, because Joanna, she was the championship, and then Namajunas, she came and took it from her, and then she defended it against her, and I think she's going to have to defend it against her again.
I will say one thing. I love what Dana White has been doing. He's putting the women in the forefront. And we always talk about women in sports. It's a big complaint that women don't get enough in sports. Dana White's ahead of the curve. He's putting women up in front, and he's putting women as main events, and they're legitimate main events that people want to see, like UFC 224 coming up.
These fights, these women fights that are in the main card, they're probably one of the most enjoyable. Like when it comes to like an actual good fight, it's not over in the first round. You know, it's you get some knockouts in, you get some submissions. It's just like it's just great. I mean,
it's just fighting.
This one was a decision.
It's beautiful.
Fighting.
And it's not much difference. UFC 224 coming up. It's in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. One of the things is, this one, it's a main card between two women. And I know Ronda Rousey was the big draw, but this is a hell of a draw. I love this fight that's coming up. Amanda Nunes, the champion, defending her bantamweight title against Raquel Pennington. Who do you have in this one?
I got Amanda Nunes just because she's crazy.
She's a beast.
I watched Pennington's last fight. I forgot who it was against, but she dominated. And but the thing about Amanda and the thing about Pennington, none of them, I think, care. I don't know if you watched her. Chris Cyborg.
Oh, Chris Cyborg's a psycho. She's just She runs through
scary.
people. She is scary. Very scary.
Yeah, she is scary. I don't think there's any fighter, any woman fighter that could take Chris Cyborg right now. And Amanda Nunes, I think, is number 2.
Yeah. So besides Nunes Pennington, which is the main card, the main event, deservedly so. It's going to be a great fight. Who else do you like on this card?
Belfort and Machida. I mean, they're older guys. You know, it's evolving, and you're seeing this with guys with Ortega. Is they're starting to fight more often. You know, they take a month or 2 off. They're not waiting. You're not getting oh, I'm only fighting twice a year. Oh, I'm only these guys are moving up the ladder so fast now. And you got these older guys. You know, you got Lyoto Machida and Victor Belfort. And Frankie, those guys, they're starting to try to keep up too. You know, Frankie just put that fight after losing less than a month ago.
Now, how great is it that Dana has made this sport where, normally what you waited for the UFC actual main fights, the pay-per-views, to really watch. You would watch the prelim. A lot of people have Fight Pass, but he's evolved the fight nights where the fight nights are legitimate now. Before, the fight nights were just if you wanted to see some young up-and-comers, but we just saw a great fight night with Barboza versus Lee, with Frankie being on that card. It's great.
Yeah, not far from it. A few 2 ago, you had Cowboy Cerrone coming back in the ring with that miraculous beard.
Exactly. So it's
and getting
I give all the
TKO victory.
All the props to Dana White with the way he's building the sport. They have a ways to go to get to money-wise the way boxing is, but he's building something. He's doing a lot of good things. Anything else you want to say preview-wise about UFC 224 as you look at this card?
I'm excited to see Kevin Gastelum fight. He was always one of my favorite. When I first started watching, because I was always big on the USA guys. That's going to be a good fight. Another one thing before we get off is I like going off what you said. I think Dana White's doing an amazing job with the consistency. How we're getting a pay-per-view event once, if not twice a month, and these fighters are doing a great job putting their ego aside and fighting more often.
And
that's great.
I couldn't say more. They're trying to build their sport. They're trying to get their sport bigger. And like you said, they're putting the egos aside. And fighting on fight night isn't a knock anymore. It's still a great event. People still come out to watch.
They're getting their names out, and it's a sport it's starting to become a sport you could actually follow. Like how I follow the Jets. They play 16 games a year. And during that time, I could constantly follow them. And the thing I like about UFC is it's constant. There's not a break from UFC.
It's taken
the only
people.
break you get is of your favorite fight. I can't wait to see Conor McGregor fight again if he does.
It's taken people. My brother-in-law, Billy Klein. What up, Bill? He's a huge MMA fan, UFC. He eats, sleeps, and breathes UFC. He watches it. Whenever a pay-per-view is on, he buys it loyally. He'll watch fight nights. My sister, Christina Klein, also really into it. So it's great. It's great to see. It's really bringing out a lot of athletes. And again, what it's doing for women is fantastic in sports.
Yes, I want to see the double fucking champ again.
So with the Conor drop, that is the end of Sports Opinions Podcast, episode number 20. We got to 20. How the hell have we gotten to 20? I don't understand.
I don't know.
People keep listening, so I keep doing it.
How the hell have I only been on 2 of these?
Listen. I gotta keep some variety. We can't have perfection every time, Joe.
I guess you're right.
But, Joe, really want to thank you for being on, my man.
Yeah, anytime. I hope to be on very shortly. And I just also want to take the time that I've begun production on a little EP me and Rob Penner are working on. It's called Just Fun. So hopefully it'll be done in the next few months.
Absolutely. Joe, where can they find you on Twitter one more time?
I just recently changed the handle. It's at Joe Hack _.
So at Joe Hack _ definitely go follow him. Aspiring rapper, like you just said, the small EP with another guy you heard recently, Robert Planner. He was just on there talking with me about the Josh Allen tweets. So definitely go back, check that out. If you don't know about the Josh Allen tweets, he said some controversial stuff back when he was 13, and people are picking on him now. If you haven't said something stupid or put something dumb on the internet when you were 13, are you even alive? Anyway.
You could probably look it up.
Yep. Shout out to Will Kane ESPN. Called out everyone for that recently on ESPN Radio about having glass houses, and he called out everyone to say, open up your social media, open up your life to him, and if you have nothing to hide and you're perfect, good for you, but no one is. Get off of Josh Allen's ass. So,
yeah, and also follow me on Snapchat, Joseph_Hackett.
Awesome. So again, I'm your host, Alex Cuesta. Follow me on Twitter at A_Cuesta30. Follow Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30. And you're listening to this. If you made it through this gauntlet on YouTube, click subscribe. You'll love what you hear. You'll hear more of it. Again, Joseph, thank you. It was lots of fun.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a good one, everyone. Goodbye.